Hey, long time no see, everyone. Spencer Israel, in case you forgot my name, back in my usual setup, in my little corner here of the office. No more cosplaying as Luke Jacoby. It was fun though. It was fun though. If you watch the Power Hour special with me as your host, the OTC Market special, let me know what you think. Curious to get your feedback. But I'm back in my usual spot right now. Starting the At the Close show a few minutes early today, only because I have a very interesting interview lined up. And I'll get to him in just a second. Elliott Johnson is his name. Been working on landing this one for a while. Elliott's a hard man to reach, but he is with Evolv ETFs, and they are in the rat race with crypto ETFs. They have two crypto ETFs in Canada, not in the US, in Canada. They have a Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF, and we're going to talk about that, about those ETFs, what went into that process. They've seen a frankly ridiculous amount of trading volume since launch, and we will ask Elliot all about those things in a few minutes. But before I do that, Voodoo, please pay Neil so he can buy a second plant. Didn't Neil kill his first plant? I thought Neil. I don't know if we need to invest in Neil's garden, or because I thought Neil couldn't take care of his plants. That was the problem. I could be wrong on that. I'll tell you what. We will buy Neil a plant if he. I don't know. I was going to say if he owned. I don't know what Neil's position is on Doge or anything like that. But if he can, YOLO his salary on Dogecoin, then maybe we'll buy Neil a plant. It's held hostage. Oh, that's the problem. All right. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I'll get with Neil at some point today. We'll figure this out. But no on the plant for Neil for now. Okay. Real quick, going to make my typical call to action to all of you. Please take a split second out of your day, like this stream. That helps us out on YouTube. If you're watching on Twitter or on Twitch, then like us there too, but also just pop on over and give us a like on the old YouTube. We appreciate that. Click on that subscribe button if you haven't already. Guys, we are barreling towards 100,000 subs on the Benzinga YouTube account. We do have something special planned for when that day comes. I cannot reveal to you what it is, but it does involve making a mess. I'll say that. Making a mess, and also one lucky person winning something of value. Not Benzinga Pro, not swag, something that is not outside of Benzinga, but something of real value. We have those two things lined up as we barrel towards 100,000 subs on the YouTube front. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to bring on Elliott Johnson. We're going to talk to Elliott for a few minutes about crypto, about Bitcoin, about ETFs, and then we'll do that. We'll hang out, and then I'll bring Joel on at 3:30, and Joel and I will hang for the final half hour of the session. It's been an interesting day, to say the least, as I look at my screen and get reacquainted here with the market after standing up in Luke's spot for 2 hours. But obviously a lot of weakness out there. Tech, not your friend today. This today is an argument for diversification, if anything, because the Dow ain't doing half bad, right? Thanks to the materials and the industrials. Dow's holding up, but RIP to every other holding of mine, right? I'm sure you're all the same way. But look, this is what happens. Nothing can go straight up. We are still not far off all-time highs. It would take a lot more than this for me to panic. But yeah, interesting broad-based sell-off today. I guess they're saying it was because of what Janet Yellen said. I don't know. You can never tell these days. Why is it up? Why is it down? I don't know. I just know what the chart tells me. So, Selly says, bro, I love your show. Bro, thanks, Selly. Appreciate that, man. He's spamming us. I acknowledge you. Sally. I acknowledge you if you are a real person. All right, enough of me just BSing here. Let's get to some real substance. Let's bring on Elliott Johnson, if I can. He is the CIO and COO, Chief Investment Officer and Chief Operating Officer of Evolv ETFs, Canadian ETF issuer at the forefront of the ETF game, frankly, and the amalgam of ETFs and crypto. I'm going to bring Elliott here on now. Elliott, how are we doing today?
Hey, Spencer, how's it going? Nice to see you.
Good to see you. It's been a while. As I said, you are a hard man to reach.
Yeah, sorry about that. I wanted to chat with you earlier, but we've been so busy this year in particular. It's just been like drinking from a fire hose. That's what we say every day as we wake up, but couldn't be happier. It's great.
I bet. So I mentioned the couple of Evolv crypto offerings. You've got EBIT, which is the Bitcoin ETF, and ETHR, which is the Ethereum ETF. Maybe you can just back up for a few minutes and start from the beginning and how long did that take? When did this process start? What went into launching or getting those ETFs to market?
Yeah, it's been a long journey for us. We actually filed for Canada's first Bitcoin ETF back in 2017, but the regulators weren't ready yet back then. And so we've been on this journey for quite a long time through the crypto bear market and then obviously more recently with the bull market. And so one of the things that we're lucky to have in Canada is we've got a good, pretty progressive regulator in the sense of having an open mind to new products and a process by which issuers can talk to the regulator and get a sense of, explain why a product could be helpful for investors and talk through some of the issues. And so we spent a lot of time on that. There were many months of development going into this. It very much was a regulatory piece of work to get the regulators there, but it also goes into the design. And so, we really had to address a whole bunch of concerns that the regulators in Canada had previously had when they were saying no to ETFs. And I think they're the same concerns that we still see today when you see statements from the SEC about where they stand on ETFs and crypto and from other regulators around the world. They all kind of match a theme of concerns relating to, are there bad actors in the space? How can you discover the price? How do you know what the price is for Bitcoin? How do you make sure that your ETF is going to operate properly to take inflows of money from investors, to deal with redemptions when investors want to come out of your ETF, and to do so without, price impact, manipulation, facing a bad actor and all of those kinds of concerns. That was the kind of area of concern that the regulators were focused in on. And we went through each of those issues with them and knocked them down one at a time. Until really we got to a point where they were saying, as far as it comes for investors with investing in crypto, and a well put together ETF that deals with all these issues is actually pretty good for investors. And there are a lot of worse ways to get access. And therefore, our product was allowed to hit the shelves. And it's been a massive success since we were able to launch it.
So I think a lot of people south of the border are wondering, what were the magic words that you said to get a crypto ETF in Canada, because we're on the struggle bus here in the US still.
Yeah. Maybe I could just drill into, two key issues and how we solved them, because I think it would help people who are trying to fight that fight in the US, because we're all on the same page here. We're all trying to do the same thing, which is bring more investors into the asset class, give more investors more tools to use. So there were two big concerns. The first was, and they're related actually in terms of our solution to them. So the first was around price. They said, well, how can you be sure that the price you're going to use to value your fund every day is the actual price that Bitcoin is, should be valued at, given that it's a decentralized currency trading all over the world in places that don't necessarily follow regulations, right? The crypto exchanges are moving forward in terms of being regulated in their local jurisdictions, but by no means are they, top down, started out by getting regulated in any given country. And so we went to CF benchmarks to use to find a pricing source. And those folks, you may know them as the benchmark index provider for the price that the futures at the CME use for their Bitcoin futures.
Right.
That was a massive breakthrough for us because these futures have been around for 3.5 years. There've been over 300 billion Bitcoin futures settled during that time using this price source. And CF benchmarks had to meet a huge regulatory hurdle for their index when they put it together. They're regulated in the UK, they're regulated in Europe, and the futures are regulated in the US. So they have three massive regulatory bodies that they had to satisfy in how they put the index together. And those regulatory bodies are all asking the same question. How do you make sure there's no price manipulation? And so CF Benchmarks has a completely transparent process. They only pull from 5 crypto exchanges that themselves have processes and controls against money laundering, price manipulation, and so forth. And then they average out those prices over a 1-hour period to come up with a number. So you can't manipulate their number. To manipulate the number would mean to attack the 5 biggest, best run exchanges in the crypto world for a whole hour without anybody noticing. And they also have to monitor for all that sort of thing. That's important for the quality of the number, but the quality of the number actually is much stronger than that because of the futures market. And that relates to how we run our ETF. So when we get inflows into our ETF, and we've had them steadily pretty much every day since we launched our funds, we end up getting cash from the banks that trade our ETFs. Those banks are selling units of our ETF to investors all day long. So if you go onto your brokerage account, you buy EBIT on the Toronto Stock Exchange or Ether, ETHR on the Toronto Stock Exchange, you're getting units of our ETF, and they're being sold to you by one of the banks, ultimately the big Canadian banks, like TD Bank, for example. Those folks need units to give to the investor when they sell them. And so they come to the fund and they say, I need units, and they give the fund cash. We don't take that cash and go trade Bitcoin and try to hit that price point from CF benchmarks. That would be crazy because we can't be sure we're going to be able to buy Bitcoin at the price that their index is going to settle at. But luckily, because their index is used by the futures market and it's such a big futures market, been used for a long time, there are market makers who trade the futures and spot market for Bitcoin and Ether in massive volumes every single day. So we just call up one of those guys and we say to them, hey guys, we need you to sell us some Bitcoin at today's Bitcoin reference rate. That's what the rate's called. Can you do that? And they have essentially unlimited capacity because they're making markets all day long. They can take our order and just say, yes, for sure, we'll give you today's rate and you can send us the money tomorrow. And that allows us to be sure that when we buy our Bitcoin or we buy our Ether, we're facing somebody that has been completely checked out by Evolv, completely checked out by our Canadian custodian, Sidel Trust, as well as completely checked out by Gemini Trust, who's our Bitcoin custodian. So 3 different entities are doing due diligence and background check on anybody we buy the Bitcoin from. And we're using a rate that is the best rate in the world that effectively is spot Bitcoin. It's daily settlement price, if you want to think about it that way. It's the closest thing to that in the Bitcoin market. And it's the most widely used price source. So this allowed us to go to the regulators and say, how can you have a problem with this? This is, you know who we're trading with, you know the price we're going to trade at, you know where we're going to get the Bitcoin from, you know how it's all put together, everything's transparent, every single entity all the way through the process is fully regulated in their local jurisdictions. Those were the ways in which we got to approval. A regulator, their job is investor protection. Their job is to make sure that products they approve are well run and meet the legal standards of their jurisdiction. That's what they do. You aren't going to get there by trying to tell them that those legal standards don't apply to your asset class because you want to do a new thing. That line of discussion just gets you continually to a closed door where they say, sorry, I'm not approving your product. So you have to approach it from their point of view and say, look, every single thing in our fund, I can point to an analogy in the equity market, or I can point to an analogy in the currencies market. And everywhere up and down the chain, everything you look at is something you would approve. And once you get through that, then the fact that Bitcoin is on the, on the name of the product is the least relevant thing, because they've gone through and they said, well, I just can't have any further questions. That's how we did it. I think that same line of thinking will get any regulator comfortable with a cryptocurrency ETF, because they're going to run out of places to be afraid. And I think a lot of that fear is still there in terms of people's thinking around the crypto market. There's still a lot of uncertainty, a lot of doubt, a lot of, it's new. I don't quite understand it, and therefore I'm going to be afraid of it rather than trying to embrace it, which I think obviously there are many people who embrace it because it's new. But regulators take the other point of view, so you have to kind of bring them along a little bit and show them that this looks and feels just like anything else that they are used to using.
Wait, so all that was about Bitcoin then. What about Ethereum? A similar story?
Yeah, it's an identical product. We just have a different token in terms of what we're holding in the fund. It's the Ether token, and the approval there was just essentially no questions on the file because they dealt with it all for Bitcoin, which is great because it also says that Canada is open for business. I would be surprised if these are the only crypto ETFs that we ever see in Canada. It just doesn't make sense. We've solved a structural issue to bring the asset class into the ETF market. And now I'm sure there are so many people out there who have lots of ideas as to how to use it, which is what you want, right? That's how the market develops from here.
So I mentioned the reaction. Can you speak to that a little bit? The volume, the activity, the assets. Every time I look, it seems like the numbers are more and more eye popping. So what has been, for people our viewers who aren't in Canada, who can't get quotes or whatever, what has been the reaction to EBIT and ETHR in terms of volume, flows, assets, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, so we are one of 3 products in Canada, and today our funds are trading. EBIT's about $12 million traded today. Ether is about $17 million traded today. And we are, when you put that in context, Ether is a week old. To get $16 million a day in traded volume is phenomenal for a new ETF. You don't see that. It just goes to the excitement in the asset class and the number of people who are looking to use these products. And as I said, we're not the only one, so that there's more volume out there. It's being split across other products as well. Maybe just a few thoughts on the reception to these 2 funds. It has caused us to have a great many conversations with folks who had been waiting for crypto ETFs for a very long time. And we have had conversations with all kinds of investors, individual do-it-yourself investors, broker dealers, or what you call RIAs in the US, registered investment advisors, and then also a lot of institutions. And I would say that we believe we have not seen the real volume yet. There are more people who have been looking at this and are still on the sidelines and still thinking about using these tools, especially the big institutions. Conversations we've had with them have opened our eyes to a couple of things. The first is they're highly educated about cryptocurrencies. They have done their homework in large measure. They have not yet used them because their investment policies have not permitted using the asset class directly. They now can because of ETFs, and they're seeing how these ETFs go. And the due diligence questions are extremely technical that we're getting from those folks. So, I know that the category of Bitcoin ETFs broke records in Canada for ETF launches when we launched along with our competitors. And it will continue to do so, in my opinion, because we still haven't really seen the big players in the space enter this market in a meaningful way. And the analogy I would draw is look at S&P 500 companies. How many of them, like Tesla, have put Bitcoin on their balance sheet? I mean, other than Tesla,
a handful, some.
Yeah, a few, but it's not 500. It's not.
No.
It's not 100. It's not. I don't even think it's 10. It's
No.
a small number, but it's happening. And one of the things I thought was fascinating was last week. You were probably watching all the news. The FANG stocks were doing reporting. Facebook and Apple and so forth reported, I think, on the same day last week. The news that I was seeing all day on my Bloomberg was the speculation as to whether or not they would announce they had Bitcoin on their balance sheet. That was what they were covering. They weren't covering anything to do with the businesses themselves. They were covering are these guys putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet? That's so significant because it shows that there is a real sense of an inevitability of adoption by these large players, the big companies and the big institutional managers. And I think everybody's looking for signs and saying, who's next? Who's the next? Elon Musk is famously brave in doing new things, and he usually is ahead of the curve, and usually people follow him. And so I would say that same dynamic we're seeing in other groups of investors that we're talking to.
I'm on with Elliott Johnson. He's the CIO and COO of Evolv ETFs, and I think that's a great point that you just brought up before. People talk about crypto's due for a correction or a pullback. Well, there's so much institutional money on the sidelines still, waiting for a product that they can buy, and they're not going to go to Coinbase. Right, they're not going to go to Kraken or whatever. They're not going to go buy like these are advisors, these are asset managers that need a product that has gotten through some kind of a regulatory process, and that's what an ETF is. So Canada is a little bit ahead of the game right now compared to the U.S. Elliot, do you have like an expectation, an estimate of when you think we will get a crypto ETF in the US? And if that were to happen, I'm not quite sure. All of Evolv's products are just on the TSX. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. We don't have any direct distribution in the US. We can't stop people from other countries from trading on the TSX. Obviously, people with a global account can buy stocks and ETFs around the world. We can't promote our products outside of Canada. The question as to when the SEC gets there comes up all the time. And I think the general consensus I'm hearing, and you could tell me what you're hearing, is that it's a matter of when, not if, because the new head of the SEC has had a background in teaching about cryptocurrencies. But when, not if, does not necessarily equal soon, because the process they have to go through in order to approve these products is, it's difficult. Their regulators are big, somewhat bureaucratic groups of people who have to go through and say, well, what did we say last time? That's our standpoint. How do we say the new thing and talk about why it's different from the old thing we used to say? And there's a whole bunch of stuff that has to get walked back. So I wouldn't be surprised to see something in 2022. I think we're getting to a point where 2021 is, might be soon. Do we see something in the fall? I think we might have more signs of it now. I know the process for approval in the US is a little bit longer than in Canada, where, I think one of the reasons this made such news was because the news that we were approved to launch was a week before we launched, because you can just go in Canada. You got approval from the regulators. You're allowed to tell the world we're approved, and then you can just go and launch. And it's kind of pretty straightforward up here. We've got a good process for that. I think timelines are a little bit longer in the US. But to be honest, I'm not a US regulatory expert. I wouldn't even say I'm a Canadian regulatory expert. I just know more Canadian regulators.
I don't think there are many of those. Yeah, I think even the regulators wouldn't say that they're U.S. regulatory experts. Elliott Johnson from Evolv ETFs. I guess last thing before we let you go is like, is there any risk factor that like we haven't considered as it pertains to like creation, redemptions, and how that could like potentially mess with Bitcoin or Ethereum in some way, shape, or form? Because we've talked at length on various broadcasts on this channel just about the effects that ETF flows have on markets, have on stocks. I guess we don't really know yet what the effects of that will be on crypto, or maybe you do have some idea.
It's a great question, and it was one of the things that did come up in our review with the regulators. They said, have you done show us your market analysis, show us you actually can take large flows.
Right.
And there are a few things that we did. So one of the things is I took a look at the Grayscale fund, because it's so big, and it had taken in very big flows in large chunks because of the way that they reopen that kind of product in short periods and take in new money and then they close it again.
Right.
And you could go back and you could map the inflows into Grayscale, and you could look at the price of Bitcoin, and there was absolutely no impact. The Bitcoin market is deep and it's liquid, and it's deeper than anybody has so far probed with a fund product in terms of deployment. The other place you can see that is obviously in announcements like from Tesla about how much Bitcoin they had in their balance sheet when they first disclosed it. Like they were accumulating a large amount, and nobody in the market knew anything was happening until they announced that they'd done it. So this is, I think, an underappreciated strength of cryptocurrencies is just how liquid they are, despite being digital scarcity. Because of the divisibility of Bitcoin and Ether into a million pieces, the liquidity of these markets is strong. It's very strong. And having a futures market attached to it is another pool of liquidity that's derived from the spot market. So that has massive depth to it as well. And then the final point I would make is about ETFs as a category generally, because I do feel like sometimes when markets sell off and there's price correction to the downside, you get these articles, people saying, oh, ETFs have destroyed the market or whatever. There's some kind of crazy notion that I don't understand. But I can tell you the way, if you want to find out what happens in ETFs and do they actually provide liquidity, look at the bond market. Off the run bond ETFs have an enormous amount of liquidity that the bonds themselves don't have, because the market makers, the banks who quote on the ETFs, and the individual investors buying and selling the units from each other mean that there's a large amount of trade that can happen at the ETF level that never hits the portfolio of what it holds, because these are just individuals buying and selling between each other. And we saw last year in March that, in fact, pricing on the bonds that were held in bond ETFs got stale because the bond market lost liquidity during that crisis when COVID hit. But the ETF liquidity remained stable and was a better signal of price discovery than the underlying. And so all of that to say, it is my strong opinion, based on the data that I've seen, that adding an ETF on top of an asset class improves the liquidity of that asset class rather than the other way around. And so these articles that are published about ETFs being dangerous for markets because they cause herding of people in one direction or another really are nonsense, because in fact, what you've got is a whole bunch of participants riding on top of the liquidity of that natural liquidity of that market in a market with even more liquidity that has balance sheets of the banks and other participants providing additional liquidity to it. So I actually think we will see this play out. Crypto is notoriously volatile. And when the next big correction happens, whether it's in Bitcoin or Ether, I think you're going to really see the strength of the ETF structure in providing really good signal in terms of price return back to the investor in an orderly fashion. And sometimes you welcome those things. Like, I don't really welcome a sell-off because it's disruptive for everybody. But what it does is it proves you out, and it makes people feel more certain about what they're getting, and ultimately it's a healthy thing. So that's what I'm expecting. I think one of the most exciting things, just to close the point, is the regulators were taking a wait and see. Do Bitcoin, see how it goes. I would like to point out there's been an enormous amount of trading, unprecedented trading in this category of ETFs. Everything's fine. Nothing's gone wrong. Investors are safe. There are no problems here. It's all working as intended. That's great. That's what we want to see.
Elliott Johnson, CIO, COO of Evolv ETFs, joining me for like 25 minutes here. Elliot, I appreciate your time today. Thanks so much. It was a pleasure. Great to catch up finally, and glad we were able to do this. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Spencer. Great to talk with you.
All right, let's bring on my good friend, Mr. Elconin. Let's do that. All right, it is time for pre-market prep at the close.
3 consecutive highs, opened, matched yesterday's low, and then once it took out there, that's all the breakout momentum traders needed.
All right, so here's what I think happened today. I think you took Perry for a walk, a very long walk, and you got back at around noon, and you're like, oh, yeah, let's go. Let's start buy. That's what you were doing at noon, I think.
Actually, the buy signal came in a little bit earlier than that, but
Okay.
here we are. Let's recap today. Never even came close to the low from yesterday. That's a kind of disappointing thing. If you were looking for a gap fill, you needed to get to 81. You only got to 70 and a quarter. And then we fell out of bed as predicted on this morning's show by Dennis and I. Exceeded my bottom number, my 7-day low at 27.50, and went to 20 and a half. But when it came back up to there, it showed a little stability, covered some shorts, mild long, not sticking with it for too long at all. So, what the market needed. Buy the dip. Is that 20.50 going to be the low of the dip? Well, we will find out. I think a lot of people are worried about the jobs number on Friday, and I know Spencer is going to say, pull up my charts. And so I'm going to go to my share screen. And this is what we have. There is the S&Ps coming down to this area here. Just got in there and now getting a bounce. Crude, that's up $1.18 at 65.67. Gold, that's repelling off the $1,800 level once again, down $15.80 at 17.76. And silver, that's down 47.5 cents at 26.48.5. And Bitcoin's pulling back a little bit, down $3,450 at 54,315. But what I wanted to ask Elliot, and I listened to him for a minute before it came out, but I'll ask you is like,
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you had a question.
when are we going to stop talking about the dollar? When it like Dogecoin and Bitcoin, they're always quoted in dollars.
I forgot.
When the hell are we going to get rid of the dollar and just quote everything in Bitcoin and Dogecoin?
I forgot to ask him about the Dogecoin ETF. Shoot.
Why not? Why are stocks quoted in dollars? Why? When is the trend? Because that is going to be the explosion in Bitcoin. That's when I want to be long. When are we going to quit talking about the dollar? When we get wiped off the face of the earth in a nuclear war or something? Or when are we going to stop talking about the dollar?
Yeah, let me just do some quick math if I can. So what's the price of Bitcoin right now?
Let's call it 54. 54.
So 0.06. That is the price of Amazon right now. 0.06 is the price of one Amazon per Bitcoin.
Do you think I could call TradeStation and that they could adjust all my prices to Bitcoin?
I think they would be like, no. Let me fix my mic there. There we go. Okay. No, they would not do that. But yeah, I forgot to ask Elliot about Doge. Doge is ripping today, up to it's 55 cents, almost 56 cents.
Woo!
So I guess they're flying to safety. There's a flight to safety today, away from tech, away from growth, and into Doge. Is all I can say.
Doge.
I don't know. That's not entirely true, right? Because like materials are up, industrials are up, steel is up. Energy is up, the banks are up, but by and large, you are seeing some pretty heavy rotation today.
Rotation station, right? I mean, there's gotta be, one, and that's what has kept this market afloat. That's why you don't have these total washout 4, 5, 6% days, is because of the rotation and money coming out of the tech. I mean, these things are just getting abused for earnings, for having good earnings. Yeah. It's like you almost want to have bad earnings on this. We had talking about forever and a brother on 131 in Apple. Well, that was almost the high of the day today, 131.49. Stuck into the 120 handle, trading off the low of the day. Good $10 off the high on earnings day. Microsoft, getting a lot of negative vibes here with the upcoming divorce. I thought 247 was a good level, but they proved me wrong. They went to 245.76. And boy, oh boy, Amazon down $84. Holy mackerel. Is that what they do to a company with a great report? Let's look at Google. Google is down $47. finally broke 2,400, so almost back to where it was pre-earnings. That could be a little bit concerning as well. Facebook, that's down $5.50, but once again, all-time high made on earnings day.
So like, this is an interesting situation. Like pull up Activision, for example. Okay, so ATVI is down what 3.5% today, and they're going to report at 405 approximately today. So, and it's not just Activision. You know, the whole video game space is getting flossed today. But what do you do now? I mean, you have another down day. The stock's been punished. Stock's been punished is a strong word, but the high was 104 from February. It's now down to 88.
You hope they miss.
I guess
that's what you do. I mean, conventional wisdom is telling me here, you don't want to beat, you don't want to do a stock buyback. What you want to hear out of Activision is you want them to miss and guide lower. That's what you want.
Maybe that may be the only thing.
Wow. I think it's a little bit technical too in Activision because people are like, they were hanging out there saying, you know what? This 91's going to hold going into the report. 4 lows in a row. People are backing up the truck. Yeah, 91, man. That's going to be the number. And then, boom, 91 ends up being about the high of the session. Lower open, couldn't retake even the closing price. So I think, besides a little nervousness ahead of the bell, I think your technical traders who don't care about earnings just said, whew, this baby's taking out 91. Let's take it out to the woodshed. That's exactly what happened. I think if you're looking at this on a monthly perspective here, you have to be concerned. I mean, these are monthly lows. And we're not talking about daily lows. And we're not talking about weekly lows. We're talking about monthly lows here. And 87, 86 going back a few months, back in January. So we're almost giving back all the gains for the year. And look what it did off this beat here. Kept going for a couple days. And I'm not sure what happened here in late February. But Street was just leaning neutral into the report. And now they're downright bearish going into that report.
Is Rob Friesen joining us today?
Oh, I forgot. Yes, he is. Did I tell you that?
No, you didn't.
He's joining us. Is he there?
He's here.
There?
Yeah.
All right, Roberto.
Yeah, Can you hear me?
Yes, I forgot about you.
It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm irrelevant. I mean, I don't own Dogecoin. I'm irrelevant. I'm irrelevant.
How you doing? First day in May. You talked about it on an open to close basis, and the odds kind of said that, open to close, we were kind of be lower. That's kind of the way it turned out. What does stock odds have to say about today and moving forward?
I mean, the biggest thing we got yesterday was, it kept on point with the seasonal change for May. And, we can have that data a long time in advance, but there was a tell in the market that was so powerful yesterday as well that we can use coming into today. And that was, people don't want to necessarily leave the market entirely. They want to reposition. They want to rotate into something. And so we saw, the blue chips doing better yesterday, and tech being sold. So let's keep with that theme. Is that just a one-day event, or is that going to be, sustainable for a while yet? Right. So what an opportunity was to put a basket of short stuff on against a basket of long stuff that's positioning in where the money's actually going. I'll give you an example.
Sure.
So Caterpillar had odds of 55.6 performing well today. Both average performance sharp was good, and Coca-Cola in the same Dow was under favored, so it was at odds of 45. So average performance negative 0.35, sharp ratio negative. So if you wanted to stay within the Dow components, there's some that they're looking at. What are they looking at? They're looking at things that still have some growth potential, some GDP potential. They're looking at
repositioning to capture the upside in the market that still may be there with stimulus and, low interest rate, dovish Fed. Even though Yellen spoke today a little bit about the possibility of interest rates having to creep up a little bit, still very dovish background. So you want to be in names that are trustworthy, that the risk-adjusted opportunity is there, and we exploited that today in taking odds on things in the Dow and shorting things in the S&P 1500 that were flaky, high PEs, all that kind of stuff. So a little bit of fundamentals behind it, but the clue came from yesterday's example of rotation, right?
Yeah, always.
And this is the sell in May and go away. This is what we were talking about on Sunday. Is that you wanted a direct answer? Are we going to have it? Well, in principle, it's there because May through October is softer than November through April. But what if you don't want to leave the market? You don't want to go to money markets. What are you going to get on that? You don't want to put it in the bank and have, zero interest rates. What are you going to get with that? So you want to leave it in the market. So where do you put it?
Under your mattress.
Do you want to go in crypto?
Yeah, that's kind of the point of Doge, I thought. No.
So this can be exploited through basket trading, through an odds perspective. Just going into different groups. You don't have to just do long and short in one group. You've got a canvas to paint with. What do you want to do? So some of our traders have done pretty well just looking at going into the defensive name. Not so much it's not really the defensive names. It's the quality names that have upside.
Okay.
Right? The quality names that have upside.
Can you give us a few more of those? Is that the bad phone?
That's the bad phone.
They're after me. The Matrix is coming.
That's Bob. That's Bob saying, Rob, man, you better get to that manager control.
Okay, this was for today's trading, which could be extended over the next few days. But McDonald's, a good name. American Express, Honeywell.
Wait, do you have a computer like on the floor? What is going on right now?
No, I've got all kinds of different levels of computers. So yeah, I got computers around me, in front of me, down there, behind me. And
you got a treadmill in there too. just like Jeremy.
Why? Well, this is the treadmill here. So this rolls away, right? So I can actually use the treadmill if I want to, but it's a desk. Now, I didn't want to pay for one of those really expensive, up and down desks, so I just built my own. But it rolls out of the way, and so yeah.
What about
there's screens? There's screens everywhere.
What about so we got a jobs number on Friday, right?
Crazy.
And boy, everyone's looking for a hot number, and maybe that's a little bit of what spooked the market, ahead of that. So first of all, you have the sell in May and go away scenario. But do you have any kind of historical trends or anything, any statistics of how the markets react heading the week, because they're always on a Friday, right? How the market performs going into a jobs
number? I don't have data specifically for the jobs number, but we have data for like a Friday. We have data for the mid-month seasonality, things like that, right? So generally in May, it's really soft at the first day of May is one of the worst performing months of the year. So May performs badly on the first day, and then that follows through for about a week and a half until you get the mid-month seasonality, which creates that move back up. And seasonality works because that's when institutions deploy capital, payroll deposits, all this stuff, 401k money. So it kind of goes into the market still in the middle of the month and the end of the month. And so expect May to have a bounce, towards the 9th, 10th, and 11th, even possibly the 12th business day of May.
Okay. And anything, you talked a couple weeks ago, and you're going to get a lot of fans here about Bitcoin 72K by July. We've been chopping around up and down, giving a little bit back today. Ethereum's been the star. Any adjustments to that scenario?
Well, I think, it's kind of hard to pigeonhole just one instrument when you have an ability to rotate, let's say, out of Bitcoin and into Ethereum. I mean, Ethereum drives 95% of all the dApps out there. So, I mean, as far as a utility, what would you rather hold, Bitcoin or Ethereum? So I see the argument, and it's been performing really well this year. So there's that aspect of it too. If people feel there's a bit more risk in one asset, they might move it to the other one. If they feel that they can get better bang for their buck with Ethereum, they'll move it to that one. We still got lots of time for the 72,000 by July 1st, right? And
sure do.
It's a fun guess.
I know. I like to tease you.
But it is. I'm not a crypto analyst, so it's a fun bet, right?
Yeah.
And I have to disclose that I do hold it. I hold Ethereum, Bitcoin, Link, and Cardano, and so I have a portfolio of crypto, but I'm not an analyst, and I'm not recommending anything. I'm not recommending anything.
And you don't play anything on TV, right? How about, can you pull up a stock for tomorrow? And just give me some. I know you don't. You'll have your data. Your data comes out a little bit later, but this UPS train. I mean, I almost feel like I'm personally wealthy off not shorting this. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row, big up days, a gap, and then you go, then another gap. I know I got another package on my porch here. Do you have any historical? I don't know if. I don't know if UPS has ever done this.
You got to look at FedEx too, though, right? Like FedEx is delivering tons of stuff to India. I mean, I'm sure they're going to get major contracts with all the supplies and ventilators and things they're delivering to India. So, massive uptick there in FedEx too. So some of it's probably driven by that.
Okay.
I mean, one day this may come to an end with UPS, just with Amazon, wanting to dominate the delivery of their own products and drop these contracts. So at some point it's going to end. But
they've talked about it. They've talked about.
They talk about it. I mean, I would say at some point it's bound to end. But I mean, we can look at a number of factors with UPS. This is one of those things where people have to be careful of just going based on an indicator like overbought, oversold, or an RSI value, because you can get really run over. If I look back at many traders over the years that have had some hardship, generally it comes from having an opinion that something has gone up too much, that it's overbought, that it's oversold.
Overbought and oversold are two things. Right. All right. Before we let you go, if there's anything else you want to share with us, just the gold market, which has been in a trading range, and inflation hedge, just getting up near the upper end of that trading range for the gold futures. I haven't drilled down on the stocks as closely. Any information you could share as the S&Ps are popping here? We're getting back into that 4150 handle by the dippers, reigning supreme again. 4153. That's mid-range on the sessions. That's about 4 points away. Rob, anything else you want to share with us, or anything?
No, I'm good at the moment here.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to run anyway, so. Somebody
go get them. Go get them on that close. Get flat on the close. Okay.
All right. Thanks, you guys. Take care.
All right. Thank you, Roberto.
That was Rob Friesen from StockOdds.net. All right, let's do some ticker time.
Ticker time.
We can for the last few minutes of today's session.
I think people absolutely love ticker time. I think it. I just think that maybe that's all we should do from now on is just ticker time. People love it. They can't get enough of it. But anyways, let's go ahead. What do we have?
Okay. I asked the chat, what are you watching? Got a few things. Bill Big D is watching Upwork. This is a Jason Raznick favorite. And
Okay.
don't they have earnings? They do have earnings like coming up. Let me confirm that. I'm pretty 99% sure they're this week.
Ooh.
Yeah, they're tonight. I don't know. Tonight
Ouch.
after the close.
Bill Big D keeps he keeps track of my calls. Did I make something back this a while ago? I can't remember. I know I gave Raz some caution on that. I don't know what the hell to tell him now. I guess the bad news is that you tested these lows down here, 40.35. You didn't quite get there today. The good news is that you're $1.50 off the low, right? So that's the good news. Are they reporting soon?
Tonight.
Street leading short into the report. So if you get a bad report, maybe some of those shorts are going to look to cover. Boom, boom, boom. 39.31 would be a level that I'd be looking at on the downside. If they absolutely blow it away and they start to rally, folks, you got some overhead supply to deal with. And I'm not just talking about the high from yesterday, today, 42.29. You got a $3 gap up to Monday's high and Friday's high at 47. So that's another. And then, wow, if this thing gets anywhere near 50, but that'd be some big pops. So, and also maybe looking at this one, maybe this was like a stay-at-home play, right? As opposed to,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but it's also like kind of growthy. So
are we still using it as much?
yeah. Yeah. Jason Raznick is, and this is, I'm sure, why he owns the stock is because he's like a master at using Upwork.
Yeah, he's good at getting cheap labor, right, Spencer?
Don't I know it? Don't I know it?
Taylor Hausman's popping in. He goes, I asked about Snap a few days ago. Looks like Joel was right and I was wrong. Man, I'm sorry about that. I don't want to be right at your expense. Snap is snapping. Wow. They had earnings, right? A couple days ago. And
a week ago, right?
A week ago. Well, it tried to rebound. It formed that resistance, a gap down today. But hey, don't lose hope yet. This is back at wow. This is a big range for this thing. It held this low at 52.69. I don't even think you got that low. So you're working your way back up. Just to maybe look for a gap fill over the next couple days. Down to the lower end of the range. It looks like today, it's like people are trying to wiggle out after the report. They got a little frustrated yesterday than today when the market is saying, just get me out, sell this thing down to 53.09 and you got to bounce. So still well above the low of the move. Distance itself from definitely the high of the rebound. Maybe you'll figure the 50%er in here and see if this is just like, whoa, you had the retracement, move up retracement, and then we're going to curl up in that way. You can figure that number. How is Twitter doing? Actually, I looked in one of my accounts and, you don't have small, you have some smaller positions, but then when the stocks get up here and you're looking, you're like, that's not such a small position when it goes down 15 points on you. But hey, you got to take the pain. Rebounding, held yesterday's low, no undercut and rally, so looking good. We got numbers on the upside for tomorrow. We'll definitely keep our eye on 55.72. That matched the high, or just got above the high from Monday at 55, double nickel. So there you go. Let's call 55.60 resistance. Twitter, get back up there so I can sell it.
Yeah, everything that I'm up in, I'm pissed off. I don't own more, and then whatever I'm down in, I'm pissed off. And I don't own less. A lot of people talking about steel. Yes.
Yeah, Triple D picks up steel.
It doesn't matter if you're talking about X, you're talking about Nucor, you're talking about Cleveland Cliffs. It's all up. Everything is up. You can go in
rotation, baby, sticking with the strong. Just for these, let's hey Cliff, let's get up to that high of the move. Take that out, settle there. That's also monthly resistance here. So you could be on the verge of another major breakout here. If you could close 2067. Spencer, you still there?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay.
Right.
I hear a weird noise in the background. Hope it's not a tornado siren. But anyways, that's moving up towards its high of the move. Axe, same thing. Big 3-day move. We're getting back up to where we were when we sold the news, when the actual package was released. That's a big 3-day move. We want to see the continuation here of to 2740, 2617. That was a high close for the move. And you know what? We're going to improve on that today. That looks good for X. Nucor, Dennis, Diamond Hands, Dennis held on. Now more upside.
Diamond Hands, Dennis.
And there you are. New all-time high, new all-time closing high. Deer and Cat people asked about. Once again, benefit of the rotation. Ooh, that, man, oh man, 370. Just under that. Look at all those lows there. 365.60. Today's low, 367.88. I'd be confident in saying, right here, man. You hold here. You almost got there today. I'm full into bull camp on this one. Let's see if we can test the 5 and 6 day high up at this is called 364, or excuse me, 384. Next number on the upside, the cat. What's going on? Oh, the cat, same kind of thing, bunching up. Look at the trading range in this thing going back to the end of March. Wow, 225, 235, inching up on the high of that range. So could be another leg higher. Spoos jumping again back over mid-range on the session, 56.50 prints. We're trying, folks. We're trying another 13, 14 points, and we're back to the intraday high of 70.25 by the dippers. They're out there again.
Just to get everyone on the same page here, we're looking for lift after the close, looking for Activision after the close, Skills, Zillow, Caesar, Upwork, Akamai is notable. No, that's kind of it, I think.
All right. Well, there should be some excellent action there after the close. Good day for the spoos. All things considered, trading 37 points off that low. So you got the dip. Was that the only dip we're going to get to buy?
Yeah, exactly as you just said. All things considered, not a bad
day at all.
No. All right. We're going to close here in 30 seconds, and that'll be a wrap for this particular stream. If you haven't already, guys, go ahead and hit that like button. You don't have to smash it. You can tap it. You can give it a little love tap. That works too. Love tap the like button there on YouTube. We're at, like, last I checked, a couple hundred likes. Not good enough. So let's get some more likes if we can for Buy the Dip Day, which is what today was. So Joel, that's going to be it. It's a wrap. I will see you bright and early tomorrow morning, and we're closed now. And that is a successful day.
A little pop over 41.60. All right, not bad.
Right. Who's on the show tomorrow? We got Eric Kroll, right? Eric Kroll.
All right.
On PreMarket Prep at 8:35. And then at 9, we've got the CEO of a live person, ticker LSPN, will be on PreMarket.
You're going to have a live person on, huh?
That's what I said.
All right. All right, everyone. Have a good night. We'll see you in the morning.
Have a good night. This stream will redirect to Cannabis Insider, which is going to start at 4:30 in a half hour from now. And I'm going to hop off the stream. So hope you had a good day. I mean, I think, as we just said, it's pretty strong by the dip rally there. So that was notable. We'll talk about it tomorrow with Dennis. And that's going to be a wrap. So I'll see you guys later. And Cannabis Insider coming up at 4:30 Eastern time.